Welcome back friends. Today let's discuss about pressure flow in a plant. Mainly the vascular system, which includes two elements. They are xylem and phloem. Xylem which conducts water and minerals, whereas the phloem which conducts sugars from the leaves to the all parts of the plant body. The xylem which conducts water from lower to higher, means from bottom to top to the leaves. Water is transported from roots to the leaves through xylem tracheids and xylem vessels. The xylem vessels and xylem tracheids, which helps to transport the water in the upward direction. Not only the cohesive and adhesive force, it is also having the transpiration. The leaves which exert, means it emits lot of water molecules from the stomata. These helps water to travel in upward direction from root to the leaves, whereas the phloem which flows the sugars in both upward and downward direction depending upon their needs. Okay, in every time the sugars will travel from leaves to the sinks. Okay, let's consider one of the best example for the source. Okay, leaf is considered as one of the source. Okay, here you can see the source, which is leaf, and the sink, let's consider it as one of the fruit, which requires different carbohydrates as well as amino acids from the leaf. The sucrose, which is transported as photosynthesis takes place in leaves. The photosynthesis occurs, in which the sucrose which is prepared, and it is passed through the mesophyll cells into the vascular system, that is in the phloem. In vascular system both xylem and phloem are present, but the sugars which are travel, means it is transported through phloem, that is in the sieve tube, and it is passed through the sieve tube via mesophyll cells, and the sugars are slowly enters into the sieve tubes, and they enters, and this is the main source of sugar, and it passes through the, and it is unloaded in the sinks, whether it is a fruit or any storage organ, and the sugars are mainly passed through the source and sink which absorbs the sugars. Here you can see the animated form of it. The sugars which are being generated in the sieve tubes. When there is a large concentration of the sugars, the water which enters to it, as we know, the osmosis which enable the water to enter to the sieve tube, and it dilutes and it passes through the sieve plates. Okay, the water which dilutes the sucrose, and it's enabled to easily pass through the sieve plates, and it enters finally the required amount of sugars will enters to the sink. When there is high concentration of the sucrose in the sinks, the water will escape, means it can go through the xylem. The xylem and phloem, which are exactly beside to one another, the required amount of water enters. Now let's see the pressure flow experiment. Okay, many scientists have contributed, okay, in which these experiments will help you to know how the sieve tube is mainly responsible for the flow of sugars in plants. Okay, let's take two vessels in which the tube which is appearing is considered as sieve tube. Okay, and it is having the containers with sucrose solutions, as well as it is having the sieve tube. Okay, and two permeable membranes are placed. The left one is source and right one is sink, and the water is present, and the low sucrose concentration on both containers. Okay, the water will remain constant. Okay, in both vessels the water doesn't travel. Okay, no net movement is seen. Okay, if you see the sieve tube, there is no net change, because the sucrose will remain constant for long periods, and water may enter, but it will remain constant. Okay, so there is no net movement in it, no net movement in the sieve tubes from source to sink. Let's suppose high sucrose concentration in the left side, means in the source you have added sucrose solution, then water rapidly passes through the semi-permeable membrane and it passes the water from source to sink. So the net movement is observed here. Okay, the water will rapidly move through source to sink because the high concentration of sucrose in the left side container. Okay, the sieve tube, okay, the high water which enters through the source and it pushes the sucrose solution to the sink. Okay, this is the net movement of all this experiment.